What's up, internet? I'm George Edward, a photography YouTuber here on YouTube, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Konica Big Mini. Now, this camera has a bit of a cult following. This is a camera that I've always been pretty intrigued by. King Japes has loads of videos on it, and he recommends it pretty highly. And I can see why. The ergonomics on this thing are fantastic. A couple months ago, I went to Switzerland and Paris, and so I wanted to have a good point and shoot to bring with me. And I wanted something that was super small, that I could fit inside a pocket, and I could move around and do the things I needed to do without carrying a lot of extra weight. And this thing really fit the bill. If you followed my channel for any period of time, and I've talked about old cameras or just camera purchases, you'll know that I love buying cameras off of eBay. I think it's a great way to save money. I think it's a super reliable way to buy cameras, and I'm a big advocate for it because I know people still have some hesitancy when it comes to eBay purchasing. Needless to say, when it comes to older cameras like this, buying it off eBay is kind of really only your option, unless you're in an area that has like secondhand options and good camera stores. eBay is really your best bet. So that said, when it comes to buying these, you gotta do your due diligence. There's going to be some quirks and some qualms with these cameras, so you wanna make sure you're doing the right shopping. In this video, I wanna break that down. There's a couple things I wanna cover. I wanna talk about the camera. I wanna talk about the ergonomics of it and its overall design, what I like about it, mainly. And then I wanna talk about buying cameras off of eBay. And with that, I wanna go over some images and just show you guys kind of some of the quirks and the troubles I've been having with this camera. So that said, let's jump into it. Let's talk about the ergonomics of the camera. So when you put a battery in this camera and it's fully active, it's super easy to get the shutter to pop out. You just hit the power button. The lens comes right out. It's a gorgeous sound. The lens is super small and compact. I absolutely love the way it looks. You point, you take your photo, and you move on. That said though, if you'll notice, I'm hitting the trigger here and nothing's happening. We'll get into that in a little bit and some of the issues I was having with this camera, but it's extremely slow to be ready to take a photo, which when it comes to a point and shoot absolutely defeats the purpose in my opinion. Point and shoots are supposed to be quick, take them out, get your photo, put them away. This doesn't allow me to do that. That said though, again, going back to the ergonomics, this thing is super small, super compact. I absolutely love its build quality. It's rugged enough for not being anything other than plastic. And it feels like it can handle just getting thrown in a bag and getting bopped around a little bit. You just obviously got to protect the lens because it has no covering on it. Not much from a mechanical perspective to really talk about when it comes to these cameras. They're extremely simple, they're extremely simply designed, and that is the purpose behind all of them. So now we can talk about eBay. When it comes down to actually purchasing a camera like this, now we can talk about eBay. eBay is a great way to buy cameras. I stand on that wholeheartedly. That said, I messed up with this one. So on the listing, buried in the listing, I will say, it mentioned that the flash didn't work. It said that everything was fully functional and then asterisized it said except the flash, which in my rushed purchasing process, I saw that it said everything was fully functional. I thought good, you know, and I bought it. The flash not working is a bit of a bummer. One of my favorite qualities of point and shoot 35mm film cameras is the ability to take low light flash photos and just get that night out vibe from your travels. Like it just feels so good when you look back on those photos and you have like friends laughing, drinking, the flash like really illuminating the scene. It's just like my favorite way to use these cameras. So the flash being out on this is a huge miss in my opinion. But going back to like actually buying cameras on eBay, again, for the most part, the Japanese listings will be extremely thorough. So just make sure you're reading the description and looking at everything. One of my biggest pieces of advice is if the listing has a video on it and it shows everything being fully functional, like the flash operating and a few other things, like the sounds, everything mechanically sounds like it's working well, I'd be more inclined to pay, you know, X amount of dollars more for that listing just because I feel like you'll be that much more confident that that camera is going to be fully functional. A lot of them don't have that though. So if they don't, just make sure you fully read the description. They are relatively thorough and they are usually fully reliable. I would always recommend when you buy a camera, immediately run a roll through it, even though it feels like a bit of a waste. See how the images are coming out so you can see if this is a fully functional camera. Given the amount of time I had between getting this camera and going on the trip, I just didn't have the luxury to do that. I didn't have enough time. I got the camera a week before we left. So I just had to take it in, take it blind, travel with it, and see how it went. Okay, so as we pull up the sample images here, this is where we can really start to see like the issues that unbeknownst to me, I was having. First image here, or all of them really, you can see that the film advance just isn't functioning properly. It seems like it's giving me every like half frame to a third of a frame, then it's advancing. So all of these images are double and in some cases triple exposed, which is not the vibe I was going for. But when I took this image, for instance, here is interesting because the biggest bummer of this all is the center of this photo is really pretty. Now, granted, the view is really pretty and it's a memory for me, so I'm extra nostalgic about it, but the middle is perfect. Like, it looks so good. If every photo came out like the middle of this photo did on this camera, I'd be happy with this camera. I would deal with the slowness and I would deal with the no flash and be happy, because this, for a daytime travel landscape camera, like, these look great. So as we go through these though, we'll see that the issues just continue. The biggest issue, honestly, that frustrates me the most, we're missing focus too. So it's not even like it's hitting focus and then you just have the issue of the film advance, like it's multiple issues. Like the camera's not even landing focus in a lot of these, especially on closer photos. So that's, again, frustrating. However, what I will say, as someone who's trying to rationalize this camera being okay, some of these photos do just feel like this amalgamated memory, which is kind of cool. Like, that kind of feels like how the trip feels. So though these aren't super usable, I think one day when I look back on them, I'll still have the emotional attachment to these photos, even though they're all messed up, right? They're not perfect, so be it, but the memories are there and it feels like a memory, which is something. But as we continue along, like this photo of the cow, for instance, focus is missed, double exposed, it's just unusable. Like, there's nothing I can do with this photo that's even like remotely usable. This one though, of her sitting on the rock, she's in focus. And this is right where I proposed, so it would have been cool if this image was actually fully usable, but again, it's not. But we have some layering happening with the double exposures. We'll deal with it. Again, serves ourselves as like more of a memory and a keepsake more than anything else, but not actually a photo worth doing anything with. This photo though, this one only has a little bit of a double exposure, but as we look at like the view, this is where you can see what the camera does really well. Like, look at the plant in the foreground of this view from this one hike where we could see all of Interlaken below us, but the plant is super green and vibrant. It looks great. Everything that is in distance is in focus. The water is very teal, which is very realistic and it looks like it should. And these were super high light conditions because of the amount of reflections on the clouds, and it handled it really well. So like, you could see where this camera, if it had its full capabilities in the one that I purchased, like, it has some muscles to flex. It's just unfortunate because the one I have just can't step up to the plate every time when I need it to. The next picture of this bus, even in broad daylight, it's still fully missing focus. And this could be just due to the slowness of the camera and just really struggles to compute the actual focus distance. But broad daylight in this harsh of sun, it should be able to get focus here, in my opinion. And then when it does get focus, honestly, it was on pointless photos, which is the most frustrating part. So this photo is literally of a pile of trash, but I thought the colors were really pretty, of the beige mattress, the rattan shelves, everything just had like this cool look to it. So I took a photo, and this one's fully in focus. It's just like, okay, I guess this is the one that we get, where I have like no emotional association with this photo whatsoever, but I guess, you know, this camera can hit focus every now and again. The last couple photos I want to focus on, because these ones I actually think it hit. There's no double exposure. We have the lighthouse here, the dock right in front of me with the pink roof to the side. This photo's good. It did a good job. It hit focus. I think the colors are a little light. I think it's a little underexposed, but all in all, with everything else that this camera has missed so far, it's cool to get a couple usable photos out of it. And then my favorite photo from the entire roll is the photo of these chairs. I don't know what it is. I think other photographers have this issue too. These types of chairs with light hitting them and like good shadows and plants in them, like these scenes, I absolutely love. Whenever I've gone to Europe or Italy or really anywhere else, bistro chairs and bistro table sets, and just like, I don't know, I love photographing them. There's something about a chair that has so much personality. So that's where we'll end this. I wanted to talk about the few main things here. One is just the camera's feel, because we know it feels great. And I promise you, if you had one that was fully working, you would say it feels great too. 2 is just buying on eBay and kind of buyer beware and just how to actually scour eBay appropriately. And 3 is the camera's quality. I unfortunately have a bunk version of this camera, and that's just the facts. The flash doesn't work, it misses focus all the time, and the film advance is the most finicky thing I've ever seen in my life. That said though, this photo and the few usable photos or portions of photos that I have here tell me that this camera at its best would be really good. The 35mm lens on here is super compact, it's super light, and it also is pretty sharp. Now granted, it's no contacts, but it's pretty sharp. It looks good. And this type of camera, like to output the quality that it's putting out, is pretty solid. Here's where I'll wrap this video up. I can't say for certain whether or not the Konica Big Mini is a great camera or not. I unfortunately just don't have a model that lets me test it in an honest way. So with that said, I'd say this camera, I'd give like a D. But if I had a version of this camera where everything worked properly, it was exposing, it was hitting focus, it was film advancing properly, I think I would give this something like the B territory. The parts of the images that I'm getting that are usable, and in some cases the full images that I'm getting that are fully usable, I really like. And if this camera did all of that and the flash worked, I'd be super happy with it. But unfortunately, these are the risks you run when you buy on eBay. I think part of the issue is just like point and shoot film cameras are finicky and old, and they weren't necessarily made to stand the test of time, and that rears its head sometimes. And so that's the gist of it. I just wanted to walk you through my overall experience, how I felt about the camera, the issues I'm having with it, my eBay buying experience, and what I would do differently and what you should look for if you're gonna buy one of these things. But as always, if you made it this far, I appreciate it more than you know. If you liked it, like it, subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.